What would be your tips to somebody who is looking at getting more credit?
Having relationship managers is going to be like super important. They're going to help you get approved than what you would be able to get on your own through the algorithm. Each week, I'm seeing like at least $600,000 of total approvals. There's a lot of people who want to get access to money fast, and they also don't want to hurt their credit score either. Obviously, the best way to do that is getting business credit that doesn't report to their personal credit report.
What's going on? It's Ryan Pineda. Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Way podcast, where our goal is to help you not go broke trying to get rich. Today, I've got a credit specialist on, and many people trying to start businesses or buy real estate are always looking for more capital. And every time I bring credit people on, they do really well. And it's just like, man, I got to keep learning the tricks of the trade so that we can help people get more capital to start, rocket fueling their business. I got Andrew Imbesi with me.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks, Ryan, for the introduction.
All the way from New Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey. Yeah, born and raised.
Couldn't tell by the accent, dude.
Yeah, no New Jersey accent here for this guy.
Yeah. So, dude, you're in credit. How long you been doing this?
Yeah, just a little over 2 years now.
Okay. And what made you even get into this whole business credit game? Because I see it popping up as like a big industry.
Yeah, and that's what I saw from, outside looking in about 2 years ago. I was, getting myself involved in programs online and, quickly went broke, as you just mentioned like 2 minutes ago, right? And I found an opportunity that, I thought that was actually going to be a really good fit for me. And it happened to be a really good fit for me. Where I was going to, learn some really good skills online in sales and marketing, but I was out of money to pay for the mentorship. So someone had introduced me to, getting access to credit, and like these 0% offers in order to actually pay for the program. And so, no one around me taught me this. Like, I didn't really grow up in a family of entrepreneurs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of on my own online, trying to figure things out on my own. And someone had brought the idea to me. So, got around $30,000 of credit cards, invested in the opportunity, started developing some skills, started making some more money. And then, eventually I saw other people in the credit space, and it kind of lit a light bulb in my head, as I was developing these sales skills, these marketing skills, these, business organization skills, and thought, well, this is something I've already done myself. I'm starting to help other people who want to enroll into this program that I'm in. I'm helping them do this too. Why don't I help people on a much larger scale? It seems like something I'd be really happy to do. So then it became its own business. And we've been able to help, I think, over like 400, 500 people so far.
How much credit do you think you've gotten for people to this point?
It seems like now probably nearly 10 million. Yeah. Because it seems like every single week, with like my relationship managers, they're sending me approvals, and each week, I'm seeing like at least 500,000, like $600,000 of total approvals every week, and this has obviously been going on now for over a year now. So
So for those unfamiliar with my story, I give the two-minute rundown of like why I'm such a big believer in credit. I didn't have the capital to start flipping houses. And at the time, I didn't have any private lenders and, people that I knew with money. And so I was like, dude, if I'm going to flip a house, it's literally going to have to be me maxing out my credit cards. And there's only one way to do it. And at the time, I want to say maybe I had like 10,000 of credit, which still wasn't enough. And so I didn't have a credit program or YouTube or anything. I was just like, I'm going to apply for every credit card under the sun, in both my name and my wife's name.
Yeah.
And so we applied for every credit card, and we ended up getting about $50,000 of credit. And most of it was all 0% credit for 12 to 18 months. And I was like, great, let's, balance transfer these and get a check. And, I ended up getting $50K basically at 0%. And that was what I used to fund my first couple of flips. And, it changed my life. I ended up making $25K on that first flip, and we made $15K on the second flip, and the rest is history.
Dang, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've been borrowing money ever since.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, like just for me, when I started my consulting business, I only had about $20K available, and I just made like a big investment in something else. And so I really only had like 5K in checking in my account.
Yeah.
And, I said to myself, like, oh, I got to make this happen. And, I had that confidence in myself because I had like a lot of the skills I had previously invested with using 0% interest credit.
Yeah.
Right. And, I just really worked hard at it, just didn't give up. And then, now, I've gone from just like a one-man team to having like 20 guys underneath me, building now near an 8-figure business.
That's crazy, dude. And you guys are young, man. How old are you?
24.
24.
Yeah.
And on the way to a 8-figure business, just helping people get credit.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's crazy. So walk me through the process, because I've interviewed other credit guys and they all have just different philosophies on how to go about getting people credit. I mean, when I started, I didn't know about business credit. I just simply went and got all these personal lines of credit.
That's what I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what's kind of your guys' philosophy on credit?
Yeah, we definitely work with like a lot of people who want to get access to money fast, and they also don't want to hurt their credit score either. So obviously the best way to do that is getting business credit that doesn't report to their personal credit report, right? So we often don't really go through the whole like net 30 kind of vendor card stuff in our space, like in my company, just because we work with a lot of people that want to get their hands on money quickly, right? So we often just take the fast approach of, using personal credit score, right, to get approved for that, business credit card. And, many people may think like, oh, I need to use my personal credit to get the business credit card. Well, it's ultimately you who's, borrowing the money. So the bank's going to want to look into you to make sure that you're going to be a, good candidate to accept a business credit card from them.
So if you're going to use your personal credit to go get business credit, I mean, what's the point of getting business credit? Why not just get personal credit?
There's a lot of good benefits to it because you're going to get higher limits than you would normally get on personal credit cards. You also have access to relationship managers, and they could really help you get very high limits compared to what the algorithm may give you online for a business credit card. It's also something that's more so tied to your business than your personal credit report. Right now, obviously, if you default on it, there may be some consequences to your personal credit. However, if you max out a business credit card, it's not going to affect your personal credit. So really, it's only going to affect your relationship with that bank specifically. So say maybe you got a business credit card with maybe US Bank or something like that, right? But then you wanted to go get a car loan with a credit union. Well, if you have $20,000 maxed out on that US Bank card, it's not going to affect your ability to get a good rate on a car loan with some credit union, right? So it keeps you in a really good spot.
So even though you need your personal credit to qualify for that business credit, you're saying it's not going to impact it as you utilize it?
That's correct. Yeah, the personal credit's going to be completely untouched if you're, now there are some business credit cards, like Discover, Capital One, TD Bank. Now, like if you max those out, those often do report to personal credit score. So, normally we stay away from those kinds of banks. But most business credit cards, other than like those banks, if you max them out, like a $30,000 limit, your personal credit score is not going to tank, which is like super important because especially if you want to get more business credit cards. I've done this with a lot of people where they've came to me and they've had a maxed out business credit card and they question like, oh, well, will I still get approved for more business credit cards even though this one business credit card's maxed out? And then we take a look at their personal credit. They have like 770 score or something like that. And they're still able to go to other banks to get approvals for more business credit cards because, the bank's not exposing all too much money to this candidate already, right? So you wouldn't necessarily want to go back to the same bank that's already exposing a lot of money to you at that current moment, but you'd want to go to another bank where they're not necessarily going to see that when they look into your personal credit report, right? So when they pull your Experian, they're not going to see that you have this $20,000 of debt if they unless they really dig into like the Small Business Financial Exchange and like those business credits. But they're really, really looking mostly at your personal credit and your personal borrowing history.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when my personal credit was super maxed out. It was in like the 500s, like low 500s.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, and I honestly I didn't care because I wasn't getting a car loan. I had a car paid for in cash, and it was like, it wasn't an expensive car. It was like a $10,000 car. And I wasn't looking to buy rental properties or things like that because I didn't even have a job. I couldn't get like, a normal mortgage. And so I was like, look, the next 2 years, I'm just going to build my business and keep utilizing this cash over and over again. And I have 0%, so I don't really care. And I'm going to just keep it maxed out and whatever. That's what I did. I just didn't even try to like increase my credit. And I knew that too. I couldn't even go really increase it because I still had the capital out, working in real estate deals. So I was kind of just like, I didn't care.
Sure. And that's definitely like an approach that's totally something I've done myself, right? When I first started with like personal credit. And, I think it's definitely something that, if you're in that similar situation like you and I were in where, it didn't really matter, I'm focused on building my business, right? Then all the power to actually do it. But also, to keep in mind too, like say maybe you max out your cards, you've kind of reached the end of the road. It's definitely also good to have that business credit where, maybe I have to go get more business credit, or else you have to get something called like a bridge loan where, maybe you have someone who pays down your credit card debts for you so you could get more business credit. Say if you reach like an end of the road situation where now your score's in the 500s, you might not be able to get business credit or lending products. So,
yeah, tell me, you were telling me this a little bit earlier. Tell me about bridge loans. Because we hear about bridge loans for real estate.
Sure.
But you were telling me like the bridge loan for these credit guys is really interesting.
It is pretty interesting. Yeah. So, a friend of mine, Curtis, actually introduced me to this idea of bridge loans. And when I was getting into the funding space, I only knew like a little bit about it. And he was explaining to me how it was going to help, obviously, me bring on more people that I can help get funding for, which I thought that was a great idea because I wanted to help more people with this, right? It's something that's obviously benefited both you and I. We both are huge advocates of credit and think it's, super powerful when starting a business. So, being able to help more people is super important to me as well. So the thing about a bridge loan, basically what it is that say someone has maybe $30,000 of credit card debt that's keeping their score maybe around like low to mid 600s, maybe even 500s, right? They have like no late payments or, derogatory marks, things like that. Someone like that can actually still get approved for business credit cards. However, they actually need to pay down their credit card debt first, right? Because the bank's going to pull their credit. They're going to say, oh, well, this person has too high of balances amongst his revolving trade lines, and they're just going to turn you down. So if you could find an actual person, this is not a debt consolidation loan, but if you could find an actual person who has money available to lend to you to pay down your cards, this is going to boost your score up and you could actually get approved for more credit.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes sense to do really on your personal credit cards. You can do it with business credit cards to get more business credit cards with the same bank, right? So maybe you have a maxed out Chase card and you want to get another Chase card, but you can't pay down that maxed out Chase card. Well, Chase isn't going to expose more credit until you pay down your existing debt that you owe to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you could find a bridge loan lender who has money available in their checking account to temporarily lend to you so you could pay down that card, allow the statement to come around, apply for another card, and then, you could then pay back the lender using credit cards.
So to recap this, it's basically like, to your point, it's a bridge loan, short term. Like, I'll make this simple so everyone can understand. Like, let's just say I have 30K of credit maxed out. Well, actually, I'll use you. You have 30K of credit maxed out. I have capital as a lender, and my capital could have came from credit too, right?
Yeah.
It could come from cash, credit, whatever, right? And I say, hey, I'm gonna make this agreement with you. I'm gonna pay off your 30 grand of credit cards, okay, for the next couple of weeks while your credit score adjusts to that payment. Your credit's gonna go up, and then you're gonna be able to apply for, business lines and other things now that you have a good score. And then once those are approved, you're then going to pay me back, with credit.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Got it. That is I've never heard that one, but I mean, to me, it's like there's always just ways to like utilize money and debt and help people accomplish their goals. But I would imagine me as the lender, I'd want a pretty big amount because I'm kind of taking a risk that, dude, like, what happens if you don't pay me back?
Yeah. No, that's totally a risk to consider, right? I mean, I've definitely seen, some instances of that, but normally you run into good people. I mean, genuinely, people are often really good people out there. And as long as you set the expectations right, and you're very strong on kind of like that initial call, just as
the contract too.
Yeah, the contract, right? Before engaging in the business and the service, right? You're qualifying that person, making sure that they're a good fit to lend to, right? That's all very important. But yeah, it often is a pretty high fee associated with it. However, is ultimately like a bridge for you to get to, that greater outcome, right? Because maybe, say in your case, right, you made $25,000, $15,000 from your first flips, right? But say maybe you weren't able to get approved for business credit, right? Maybe your score already was pretty low and you had maxed out cards, but you just found, flipping houses, right? So, you get a bridge loan and then you get approved for that 50,000, right? And now you're, smooth sailing, right? So that fee almost, if you're going to be able to accomplish that kind of result, right? Does that fee really matter? Because now look at the amount of success that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like I've said this all the time with hard money lenders and other things. Like, people, when I was first getting in the industry, they were like, dude, you can't pay hard money lenders. Those guys are loan sharks. They're going to charge you crazy interest and points and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, for me, I'm just like, it's a cost of doing business. And
exactly.
With even the credit cards, what happened was I had 0% interest for like 12, 18 months on just varying cards. And even after the 18 months, I still kept them maxed out, even though I was paying 20%.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I'm still making a lot more. So like, what do I care? And, I think like with this, it's an interesting thing because to me, you just run the analysis of like, okay, well, how much am I going to get approved for by doing this? Right. So it's like, all right, I owe 30, or you owe 30. And let's just say I was going to let you go borrow my 30 grand. It's high risk for me. And I'm like, bro, you're going to have to pay me $5,000 to do this.
Yeah.
Right. And, you go out there and you apply for these things now that your credit's good and you go get, I don't know, 50, 100 grand of credit. It's like, dude, I would happily pay $5,000 to go get access to another 50 or 100 because I know I can make a lot more than $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. No, you bring up a really good point there for sure. And then I know you also mentioned a little bit about kind of repercussions, things like that. I mean, ultimately in the worst case scenarios, obviously never want to get to that point. It could get to the point of, like small claims courts. It could get, into like nasty legal stuff. It could get, collection agencies after borrowers, right? You always want to avoid those situations. But that's like kind of the risk associated with the lender is, when am I going to get my money back?
Yeah. How long would it take for somebody to typically get their money back in that scenario?
In those scenarios, it could be a very long time. Which is
a long time?
It could be a couple of months.
Well, I guess walk me through like what's the typical time frame for somebody to go pay down their personal credit?
Well, I was just mentioning. Yeah, in like the worst case scenario, right? Like that's how long it could take. But typically, bridge loans last no longer than maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks.
So it takes a month for because you're going to have your payment or whatever reporting coming up, right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to pay that thing before reporting.
Yeah.
Then it's going to report that you've paid it off.
Yeah. It's
And
at that point the lender can ask for their money back.
Right.
Like, confidently, safely, right? So there should, right, in a perfect world, there should be no issue having that repayment, right?
And how would they pay him back? They would just charge the card to like plastic or something?
They could just charge the cards through a payment processor. So the lender can have a payment processor set
but a lot
up.
of people don't have that.
Yeah. No, a lot of people don't have that. However, it can be easily set up with, Stripe, payment processors with
so I
banks.
would just Stripe you for $35,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just go right back on your personal credit.
Yeah, exactly. And now the borrower, say they had all this debt on personal credit at 20% interest, now they're paying it back at 0%. So they've even saved some money there, because maybe they were paying 20% per year on $30,000, right? That's about $5,000, $6,000 per year, right? And now you just did this bridge loan to go get approved for more 0% cards. You move all the balances to the 0% cards. Now you've actually saved yourself, you're going to pay the lender, right? But you've also now moved it to 0% cards too.
Right. No, I've heard a lot of tricks and trades of credit, and that's one that I never thought of. And I'm like, yeah, dude, if the borrower's right, I would totally be a lender for that. That's like some good passive income.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, and that's very important too. It's just screening your borrowers, making sure that they're a good fit before, lending them money. So that way you could avoid any kind of trouble with repayment, right? It's obviously something you have to acknowledge and be wary of when you're engaging in that kind of business. But oftentimes it's pretty smooth as long as you're actually lending to the right people. I've done this with maybe over 100 people at this point, and it's gone very smooth. Maybe like one or two bad eggs I've seen, but, pretty consistently I've seen, really good, really good outcomes as long as, the screening process goes very well.
Yeah. No, I like that idea. So what I'm curious too about with business credit or just LLCs, like how long do you have to have an LLC and all that?
Very good. I mean, typically it's best to have one open for a couple of months. However, there's nothing stopping you from getting approved for business credit, even with the business that's open, for like one day. In fact, actually, one of my top success stories inside my own funding program, he actually got approved for $228,000 of 0% interest business credit on an LLC that was not even like 2 weeks old, right? So he had, joined my program, May 30th, and by, June 21st, all without starting with an LLC, he had $228,000 of available credit.
Right.
Yeah. So, however, it's definitely going to be a factor for the people who have, like lower credit scores, who don't have the best credit profile. If they're giving the bank more reasons to say no, they're, going to give the bank more reasons to say no, right? But, if you have really good credit and you're giving the bank very minimal reasons to say no with a brand new business, you can still get approved for.
What are the reasons banks say no?
There's tons of reasons. It's going to be based on, all the credit factors that, add up to what make your credit score, right? Maybe it could be something with having a late payment, or maybe some kind of internal kind of thing that happened in the past. Maybe you had, a charge off with the bank. It could be, too high of credit card utilization, right? Those are some basic ones, but some other ones that people might not, think of are maybe you've opened up too many recent, credit cards, right? Maybe also, you've opened too many accounts. Maybe you have too new of a business. Sometimes that's usually in the case of, tougher newer businesses with lesser credit scores, for their guarantor.
Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today. Right. How much of a difference does it make for like how high your credit score is versus like your actual income?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, more so they are going to look at personal credit, revolving trade lines. That's another thing too. Like if you're looking for an increase, this is why it's like really important to like make sure your personal credit is good at the same time, wanting to get high approvals for business credit cards, because the bank will look for comparable trade lines on your personal credit. So they'll look to see like, what kind of credit limits other banks have already approved you for on your personal credit. So, that's definitely like important too. But back to like the income aspect of things, income's certainly going to matter. It'll certainly help you get a higher limit on a card, but they're really going to look at that personal credit borrowing history. You could be making $500,000 a year, but if you have like a 550, like the banks,
they don't like
they're not going to like you.
That's so dumb that like a broke person with 700 is better.
I know it's very interesting. I've definitely seen a lot of cases where someone's making $60,000 a year with a 800 credit score get approved for more money than someone who makes four times the amount.
Then they make in a year.
Yeah,
like they're getting more credit than the money they make, and then the guy who actually makes a lot of money is not getting anything.
I know it's crazy how it works. Yeah, yeah,
that's crazy. I know this too. So I remember early on in my career, I was applying for business credit for my house flipping company. And every time the bank would do it, they'd be like, so what do you do? I'm like, it's a house flipping business. And they did not like that.
Yeah. Now that's like super important too. That's definitely something I run into a lot with people is they have this idea of what they want to use the funding for. However, they also have to, talk about the lower risk activities in which they're engaging in with their business, because some of the things that you're doing besides just investing and flipping is you're also doing management, you're also providing like other services like within your business, right? And you want to be able to go to the bank and have a really good story straight, so that way you're not throwing yourself under the bus by saying something high risk and then they turn you away. I've seen a couple of people where they have some kind of very like risky kind of crypto Forex website online.
Yeah.
And the bank,
I got a super Forex crazy website.
Yeah. And the bank just turned them around. They said, yeah, we can't take you on as a client. So I've definitely seen that. It's not fun when that happens, but that's why it's like so important to have a really strong story going into the bank. That way you don't throw yourself under the bus.
Yeah.
Typically, like I'll go in there and say I'm a consultant, right? Which I am. I'm a consultant, right? But if I'm going in there talking about like credit, things like that, they may like that, they may not like that, right? So, I might as well stick with something a lot more safe.
Being a
like
consultant is a much better business than saying, hey, I help people get more credit.
Oh yeah.
I help people figure out how to mess with the system.
Yeah. You'd be surprised though. A lot of relationship managers actually
they know
like
what you're
that.
doing. Well, because they're making a ton.
Well, yeah. That's why it's so good to get in touch with the relationship manager versus applying for things through the algorithm, because with them, they actually make money by giving you a card. The more that you spend on that credit card, the more money the bank makes. So the bank doesn't want to lend to someone who's going to max out a card and then, not churn through it, right? Spend and pay it back, spend and pay it back. That's what the credit card is for, right? But when you're holding on, like, sure, they want you to use 0%. They do want you to spend money on it. They do want you to carry a balance a little bit, but they also don't want you to be, out all this money and not churning through the card. It's not just what's in it for, that relationship manager, but what's in it for the bank too, because they're going to make money based on you spending on the card, through those back end processing fees. And, they also make money when you bring your checking account over, when you get into their other products, things like that. So they really, really, especially, and it's a little bit weird times right now with what just happened last week, but the bank really wants your business and will attract you with a 0% offer.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how these relationship managers get paid? Like, I mean, I know.
Well, they get like a base, they get like a salary, but they get bonuses on, the amount of spend that is generated on the card. They also make money, not just on the spend, but also like, how many clients they're bringing into their ecosystem. So those are like some major ways. They do have like some, kind of sales commission incentive, but, they also get paid obviously a salary too.
Mm, okay. So let's talk about this whole banking thing. You just mentioned it. I don't know when this episode's going to get released, but recently Silicon Valley Bank just went under. Crazy.
Yeah.
Like they, what's crazy to me is I'm watching the bank and just the story develop. And I remember seeing it on like Friday or something, and they're like, yeah, Peter Thiel's telling everyone to remove their money from Silicon Valley Bank. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of like heartless, like this bank has helped a ton of startup founders. They've been around for like 40 years, and a lot of Peter Thiel's investments, I'm sure, are in that bank, right? And then like a day later, they're basically like, yeah, Silicon Valley Bank's going under. Like, they're on a bank run and they're toast. And then the next day they're like, dude, what's going to happen to all these depositors? 98% of them don't have FDIC insurance. And, the next day they're like, all right, everyone's going to be made whole. And it was like the fastest developing thing ever. But I'm just like, dude, I mean, this bank was like 40 years old, had like $90 billion of deposits, and they got hit with a bank run. And then Signature Bank ends up going under. And then I was reading something about Credit Suisse today or whatever it's called. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on in the world?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I mean, nothing stays the same forever, right? So, always got to be on your toes, really just, keep your money safe, right? I mean, the FDIC insurance is really, very powerful thing to have, especially too. But yeah, no, it's definitely a crazy situation that's happening right now.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think is going to happen, I guess, in your industry, right? Because I've thought about this a lot with recessions, right? It starts to become harder to get access to money.
No, that's totally right. Yeah. I mean, that's where, it's very important to, especially like right now, say if there's someone out there watching this, like who has things like wrong with their credit, maybe they have a late payment, a derogatory mark, right? It's like super important to get that, fixed, because even during like the recession, it's kind of crazy what starts happening, right? Like, people are losing their jobs, but also people want to start businesses. There's always people who want to start businesses, right? But it obviously is going to become harder to get access to credit, right? And, the banks are still going to give out credit. They may not give as much, or they may not, kind of, they may tighten like their circle of people that they would lend money to, maybe someone who would have gotten approved with like a low 700 score. Maybe that threshold increases to a higher credit score, right? However, that's why it's like super important. Just keep all, your ducks in a row. Just make sure that your credit is really as good as what can be. Take care of it. Because if you are in that situation where you need to get approved, you're going to want to make sure that, your credit is in order, to get that approval when the time comes, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I think you got to always be prepared. Like you're saying, I think that things are going to get harder credit wise to get. I mean, have you seen, you've been doing it now for over 2 years, the industry change since when COVID, I mean, you get into it during the middle of COVID when money is being handed out like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And then now it's different.
Yeah, no, I mean, the banks are still lending a lot of money right now. I mean, even now, like, it seems like every Monday, like one of my relationship managers sends me all these like new approvals from the weekend. They're still looking to bring on new clients, especially with the frenzy. I know I've talked to a couple of bankers like the past couple of days, and they're like, oh yeah, I've just been super busy with, all the craziness that's going on, like bringing on new clients, like talking to new people, all of that. But yeah, no, it is going to be very interesting. It's just going to tighten up, but I wouldn't say it's going to be completely like non-existent. You know, people are still going to be able to get approved, but it's definitely going to be, you know, a little bit tougher, you know, just as the example before.
So what would be your tips to somebody who is looking at getting more credit? What are some tips they can take?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think, and especially with what we mentioned just now too, it's like having relationship managers is going to be like super, super, super important, because, you know, they're going to help you get approved than what you would be able to get on your own through the algorithm. Right.
Right.
And
so what, I mean, when you do that, how do you get a relationship manager and like, instead of just applying on freaking whatever website?
Yeah. A lot of it is just really like simple communication. Right. And, you know, a lot of these relationship managers, you know, they're not, they bounce around from branch to branch. Sometimes, you know, they're not even available like in a branch. You know, you have to kind of go up the chain a little bit to get to them. And sometimes they're really hard to get in touch with because they're only going to work with businesses that do over $1 or $2 million a year. Right. So, you know, it's not always so easy for someone to just call into the bank and ask for one of these relationship managers, especially if they have a brand new business, because, you know, they're going to, the teller or whoever's there is going to, you know, go follow protocol and keep them exclusive to the businesses that are producing a lot of revenue, you know, which, you know, through a lot of, you know, trial and error, a lot of calling, things like that, you could eventually find really cool bankers, like people I've been able to meet, who are willing to help people who are just starting out too.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Because I mean, I know this game is like all about relationships. Right. And so everything that I've ever accomplished has never been just freaking,
on your own.
Submit my thing and it's good.
Success comes through people. Exactly. Yeah.
So you're just in constant communication with these relationship managers. Is like American Express still just like the best limits?
Good question. I mean, I'm like forever grateful for American Express personally, because they definitely helped me get my start. Those were like the credit cards that I used when I started my business. But yeah, they do. And, you know, sometimes it could be a little challenging because I have seen people that just get, you know, straight up 2K when they just start, if they like apply through the algorithm, while other people, you know, can get 25, you know, $35,000. I've seen other banks be able to give way higher amounts, way bigger approvals. But Amex is still a really, really great card company. Mm-hmm. You know, it is, you know, and those relationship managers as well are harder to get in touch with because everything they do is online. There's no physical branches. I mean, oftentimes when you call, you're speaking to someone in a different country or in a customer service role. So, I've had a couple of people actually inside my group who've referred me some American Express representatives that they've been able to work with themselves. So
they're hard to work with. We have them at American Express, and so it's like the main thing we've been getting for our businesses. But it's just like, dude, even just doing it, it's like the communication is just super bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're a pretty algorithmic bank. I mean, you just apply for, like, they just have everything set up for you to like apply online, like instant decisions. Right. And, you know, that's why it's good to, you know, kind of understand like how credit works, especially as a business owner, and be resourceful as a business owner to be able to expand outside of just Amex alone, and be able to get into other banks that you may have not heard of.
Right. But what's your thoughts on like these small banks now? Because everybody's scared of the small banks with the runs on Silicon Valley.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you obviously want to make sure that, you know, you're, you know, covering your bases with an FDIC insured account. Sure. I mean, that's like,
I'm just saying, I guess getting
but
credit from these small banks.
Very good question. I mean, because, you know, say like that bank closes, your credit line can close, right? So it's always good to have options, right? Just because you have one business credit card doesn't mean that that's enough, right? It's good to have a couple of credit cards, right? You know, some with some big banks, some with some small banks too. Right. So, you know, it's good to have options, because if something like that happens with Silicon Valley Bank and now, oh man, this was my primary credit line that I was using, you know, now you're back to square one, and, you know, maybe you have to, you know, start applying for more credit cards. Maybe you also need a bridge loan, you know, something like that. Right.
Yeah.
So it's good to have options. I mean, I know a lot of people that don't like to have too many credit cards, but it's good to have like maybe a handful or two.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some people with like 50, 60, 70 credit cards. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's what it's like for me. I think I have now nearly like 30 credit cards I've gotten over the last 2 years.
Oh, you should have brought them, dude.
Yeah,
See your
they're
collection.
they're in my car. Yeah.
So I know this is changing all the time, but what's like your current favorite credit card? Like, because I know it's just there's different offers.
I really do like the Amex card right now, but
Which
this
one?
is the gold card.
Okay.
You know, well that's not 0% either, but
We have it. I don't even know, dude. It's so funny. Like, while you answer that, I'll say this.
Sure.
Like, one of my guys is all about points and like
Yeah.
all these things. He's like, bro, you got to do this, this, and this. I'm like, bro, I don't have time for this. Like, freaking. He's like, well, I can refer you to the this guy. He like you can go be first class to wherever. I'm like, I would rather just go make more money. Like, I'm not gonna deal with freaking trying to figure this thing out. And so when they apply for our business cards, they're all like gold or platinum. And I'm like, I have no idea the difference of why I use one or the other. I couldn't tell you what its bonuses are or anything.
Sure. Yeah. I like using the gold card a lot because, you know, for me personally, I spend a lot of money on YouTube advertising.
Okay.
So, you know, I get 4 times points on every dollar I spend for YouTube advertising. So if I'm spending, you know, 100,000 plus a month, I'm getting 400,000 points. That's like 8 round trips back to New Jersey, right? So I could go and see my family for free whenever I want.
Yeah. Dude,
right?
Honestly, I don't even know what we do with our points.
Yeah. Oh, they might just be sitting there. I know some other people in our space that just have points sitting. One of my mentors showed me like 4.5 million Amex points. He's like, I haven't used these and I don't know how long. I'm like, man, you could fly like your whole team on a trip instead of, you know, using you could save some cash, I guess, right? But
yeah,
you could use all those points to, you know, like that's 4.5 million points. It's like, I think that's equivalent to like $45,000 of plane tickets. You know? That's a lot of. That's good for a whole team.
Yeah, my thing with the points has always been like people use them for flights and stuff, and I've always just taken the cash back, and I'm just like, I don't really understand the difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's to each their own, right? You know, like I like cashback cards a lot. I don't really go for points cards all so much unless it's for a purpose, right? So, I mean, even with the scenario you talked about earlier with, you know, sure, I'm paying interest on a card, which most people hate paying interest, right? But if you're making money, like, does it really matter if you're getting a greater return on investment by paying that interest anyway?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell the team to start using
the gold card.
The gold card on our point because that's the best for ad spend.
Is
it better than the platinum?
Well, the platinum, you know, I mean, to be honest, like I have like a little bias. Like maybe I have my own opinions about the platinum card. I think it's a little bit of a waste, to be honest. I mean, I think there's some valuable things with it, like the Dell credit and, you know, maybe Indeed credit and Adobe credit, all these different things that you can get with the platinum card. But, you know, it doesn't really, you know, attack kind of like those main spend categories, right? Like, you know, who's going to spend like, you know, like not everyone, but, you know, if you're spending, like you get 5 times points on travel, right? Not everyone who's a business owner is just going to be spending on like flights all day. They're going to be spending on advertising. They're going to be spending on softwares. They might be taking clients out to restaurants, right? You know, things where you could actually get better points, you know, business software, stuff like that, where the gold card like rewards you for those things. Like spend money on the gold card, but use like the platinum for all the luxury kind of, you know, like Centurion Lounge things. You know, you could get your annual fee back by, you know, investing into like Dell. You know, that's why I did. I got myself like a printer using like the Dell credit, right? So you know
you invest in a Dell and you can waive the annual fee.
Yeah. Like you get $400 of Dell credit, right? Like Dell, like computer company, right? Like an Epson printer or like maybe
Dell
a headset.
owns Epson.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I got like an Epson printer on Dell.com, right?
Actually, I forgot about this. Epson's actually sponsoring us now. So shout out to Epson.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're getting us like a big printer thing. I don't really know what we're going to do with it. I think it can make us like banners and all these cool
Oh,
things
that's
for
cool.
business. And
Well, that's gonna be
very-
cool for maybe your upcoming event in
yeah,
Hollywood, right?
yep, exactly. So we're going to be using that stuff for WealthCon. And then I think they're printing us like 500 shirts or something. Like it's going to be a cool thing. But like they actually sent it to us the other day of like this giant Epson printer.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. But you're saying back to credit cards, I could just go buy Dell and then get
Your annual fee.
it's like $500 or something.
It's like, yeah, like 600, 700 bucks. I think it's 695 now.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I remember every card I used to get was always free. There was no annual fee.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's crazy for the platinum card. I think that because there's like really no benefit for like spend categories, right? Like 5 times points on
I don't know
travel.
why I have platinum, but I do.
Yeah.
And it's what I use the most. There's
Yeah.
no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could get 1.5 points on, on purchases over $5,000, but you could then instead get like, there's other cards out there like Chase Premier where you could get 2.5% cash back on purchases over $5,000.
Really? That's
Yeah, and that's
2.5% is the most I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think it's up to a certain amount. I don't often get that card for everyone because a lot of people want 0%. They're just starting out, but
Right.
that's for like big spenders, right? So U.S. Bank has a similar option with their leverage card, 2% cash back on all your purchases, right? So I mean, that's
my first card ever that like when this was back when I was broke. I was 21 and it's like, I guess I should apply for a credit card. I'm an adult now. And I was just looking it up on my own and I was like, okay, what's the best cash back? I don't care about all these freaking points and stuff. I just want money.
Yeah.
And at that time, like 1% was like the standard. And then there was this card called the Fidelity card.
Mm-hmm.
And that was $2 back. And I was like, wow, this thing's crazy. So I applied for it, got it. I had to open up a Fidelity account for it to work and all that. And like, I've literally had that card for like 12 years.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, well, I'm 24, so
Yeah.
I've only had a credit. My oldest credit card, I think, is like 6 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like this Bank of America card.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm like now thinking, I'm like, dude, how many points do we have? I'm just like,
Oh, you're gonna go check.
I'm looking, but I think our CFO is like taking over all the stuff. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's what I'll tell you, one of the things that always made me super mad was I could never get approved for a Chase card.
Yeah, they have very interesting kind of, underwriting system, right? So that's why it's, really good to have a relationship manager for like a business card, especially. I mean, they could do a little bit with personal cards, but they're not going to do much with the personal cards. The relationship managers, they're focused on working with businesses, helping them get business lending products, helping them with, different business products, right? And business credit cards are just one product of many things that they offer. And yeah, just back to that point, like getting approved for Chase cards, there's obviously people out there that talk about like 524 rule, things like that. But if,
What is that?
basically if you are approved for more than 5 personal credit cards in the last 24 months, they're pretty much just going to shut their doors on you and say, you can't get anything from us right now. So if a relationship manager, however, they could help you get around that, too much new credit in the last however many months reasoning why you would get denied, right? Which is what the 524 rule is just for them, right? Not every bank has that, but that is a reason why people get denied for credit cards is that they've opened up too many credit cards recently, right? That was a reason I was denied for a credit card like a couple of months ago. I opened like 7 personal cards like a year ago. And it was like 7 months since I opened them and I tried applying for a card. I got denied. And then, I did like some little tricks of, showing spend on other cards and, opening up a checking account. And then I wound up getting approved for $35,000, like a month later.
So I guess my question is, and we were kind of talking about this a little offline, but like, okay, these people that come to you and they get all this credit, like the main thing is for me anyways, you better have like a reason to use it.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of just starting the clock on 0% if you don't even know what the heck you're going to do with it?
No, totally. No, totally right. And that's definitely something I run into a lot. And there's like so many business models that we were talking about offline other than, just like normally what people see online, like real estate or like crypto or e-commerce or YouTube. I mean, you were even suggesting like go give, your 0% interest credit to a poker player, right? It's I think
poker player staking.
Yeah, poker player staking out here in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah. Well, no, what made me think of that was because you were saying people will lend it to like these traders to trade for them and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you could if you trusted that person. But, it's like in Vegas, so many of these poker players, they take, they sell basically like a portion of what they could win. It's like, okay, you know what? You're going to buy me in. And if I win, you'll get 30%.
Yeah.
Right. And if I lose, which poker's obviously very risky, then, we get nothing.
Yeah.
But
yep. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of what business really is. It's like putting confidence into the right vehicle, putting confidence into yourself, knowing you're making the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, I think, what a lot of people are really looking for when they ask themselves, well, what do I do with the money? Right. It's just really finding vehicles and methods that could be confident
I'm a big
in.
believer, just having been in business a long time now that like, I mean, you're either doing one of two things, in my opinion. One, you're going to go use it to start your own business. Like,
sure.
Hey, I'm going to go fund, the expenses of this business I'm starting. I'm going to go buy inventory. I'm going to go buy equipment and, spend some money on ads and everything else. Right. And, it's going to be trial by error. Hopefully, we end up getting something that works and all that stuff. Right. Or to me, I think real estate is the way. I mean, man, the more access you have to capital in real estate, the better it is. And we're always looking for more money in real estate. So I think that just whatever means that is, private money, business credit, personal credit, I don't really care. Just get more capital because we know if we're good real estate investors, it's just simply a game of debt. The best real estate investors are great at finding deals and operating, but they're also equally great at finding ways to get more money.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of business, I mean, you just started this business a couple of years ago. And I mean, like you said, at 24 years old, on the path to doing 8 figures potentially, how the heck did you learn how to like just do all the other parts, right? Like, because credit is just, all right, great. I learned the skill of how to get people more credit and help them and everything. But you got to know how to run the business of hiring people, marketing, sales.
Yeah, no, those are all like major components in the business. I think one of the most important skills totally starts with communication, right? Being able to communicate for all of those different things, like the messaging in your marketing, the messaging in your sales, right? Communicating with potential employees, right? It's definitely an important aspect, to start with. But I think I learned a lot of it just from having really good mentors early on. When I first started, I got burned on a couple of bad courses, right? And then eventually ran into someone I knew who would be a good mentor for me and, leverage 0% interest credit to, kind of move myself further along in the process and, get access to mentorship, to learn sales, to learn marketing, those things. And having some experience in the space as a, high ticket closer myself, working with other coaching companies, really seeing the ins and outs of how they worked, like being affiliated with some people who've ran organizations with people like Grant Cardone, right? So, being able to see like that org board, being able to see, all those different things and be able to learn from really good people, I think it really, really helped me be able to establish my business, set up the systems properly in the beginning. So now where, in November we had maybe like myself, my guy Paul, my brother Joe, and a VA. Now we've went from having a team of like the 4 of us to over 20 people in just maybe like 3 months, 4 months.
What's the future look like? Like, what are the goals?
Yeah. I mean, I want to keep adding more people into the machine. I think
Yeah.
I had like a realization in November, I was doing this for myself, right? And I was just doing it on the small scale of, I was doing all the sales, I was doing all the marketing, I was doing all the fulfillment, right? And I had to kind of think to myself like, well, obviously this is so great for me, but I see how great it is for other people, and like how many people do I really want to reach? And I had to kind of break those limiting beliefs in myself and realize, other people are capable and able of doing a lot of the responsibilities that I'm currently doing myself. And, really just focusing on delegating those tasks to other people. I mean, this is totally relevant even in the real estate space along your journey, right? To where, delegating a lot of that work and learning how to do that, and like writing down like everything that you're doing and handing it off to another person is such a valuable skill. It's such a valuable tool in your business, because once you really nail that, you can just keep doing it, keep adding more people to the machine. And then, now you're kind of, one business that's running itself, you could start another business, right? Another business after that. So that's a lot of the things I think I'm looking toward doing is, really building my funding program is great and as large as it can be, but also starting, new ventures, new opportunities. Maybe it could be something in real estate. That's definitely something I'm looking a lot more into, or maybe something in regards to like online marketing, right? Or different kinds of projects that it seems like you've gotten involved with after, getting involved with, couch flipping, real estate, right? So
yeah, no, I love it. Just a entrepreneur at heart. And yeah, I'll say this, once you develop the skills to do marketing at a high level and sales at a high level and hire people and manage teams and all that, yeah, you're right for many things. If you're staying kind of in the same, like, in this case, the digital space, changing out the product is not that difficult. It's like, yeah, there's a different deliverable now, and there's different nuances to it, but overall it's a very similar business.
Yeah. Just having like those systems, knowing what those systems are, like learning how to, develop an organization, with different divisions and different responsibilities per division. I mean, I think having that information to really start really helped me kind of go from, where it was for me just kind of running this as some smaller kind of, one-man job with, a couple of friends helping me out, to now we got like this organization that I think we were very prepared for, just given the prior experience and training and people I had met along the way to show me and introduce me to this stuff.
Yeah. So on this next endeavor for you, I mean, obviously you got a long ways to go, still just continue to grow this business and everything else, and you're going to scale that to wherever, you see fit. On the investment side, what are you looking at doing? Or do you think you're going to start investing in real estate?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, that's just a really great market. That's something that, people are always going to need a place to live. People are always going to need office space, right? I think it'll be really interesting over the next couple decades to see how things go with, commercial, although it's still like a really hot market where a lot of cash is made. I mean, people are always going to need a place to live, right? So, I mean, that's a really good market itself, real estate. I think there's a lot of really interesting things happening online. I think there's a lot of, really stable businesses that can be, ran. And I think having a lot of this experience now growing my own consulting business, I think, I'm going to be able to kind of transition into other things with just the knowledge of sales, marketing, delegating responsibility, how to manage an organization, understanding really this like 7-division organization board.
Yeah. Are you the guy on the ads?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have to learn content and filming and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just really used my phone. I just, went out on my patio and just, took my phone out and, just read off a teleprompter really.
Yeah.
But I knew what I wanted to say, and, I knew how I wanted to say it, and, didn't want to stumble or take hours to record it. Right. But, but yeah, those were all things that, learned along the way. all using 0% interest funding or credit, right, to invest into those programs to learn how to
run
reach
ads.
how to run ads, cast a wider net, help more people, learn things that I've learned that have helped me and other people
So
around me.
do you buy your own ads right now too?
Oh yeah.
You do everything yourself?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have some help from, one of my mentors who,
Yeah.
dives into my ad account every now and then. But I mean, it's really simple to run once you get, like all the, important information, right?
Yeah. Like I filmed a bunch of ads, but I've never
ran them.
No.
Yeah. No, it's pretty simple, like running YouTube ads and like learning how to do that. I mean, there's definitely more technicality I could probably get into, but I mean, it's probably like this too for you with like flipping houses or, other aspects of different businesses, right? It's like a couple of very important things that that really make up like 80% of what needs to be done. Like it's like maybe like 20% of things that you need to do that make up 80% of the revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but like knowing like what those things are like super important. But yeah, I do, I run my own YouTube ads. I, learn how to do sales all on my own, learn how to run YouTube ads, all with the help of mentors, of course. Right. So,
No, that's amazing. Well, bro, it's awesome to see how your business is growing and, what you guys are doing. We'll link to, what's the website?
bowgroup.co.
Yep. So we'll link to that down below. You guys can go check it out. And if you're trying to go get credit, Andrew and his team can help out. So, bro, appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. It's exciting to see like young entrepreneurs making it happen.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me.
Cool. All right. Make sure you guys check out the next episode, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.